I knew that I had extreme skills at designing computers in ways that were never in any of the engineering books, and I had done it for my whole life since I was 10 years old. Didn't learn it from books. I taught myself, and I could just whip out in my head real quickly after thousands and thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of hours of practice. I could whip out designs. I worked for Hewlett-Packard at the time, and so I was going to build a computer for myself someday. I had actually built a computer for myself 5 years before, the Apple I, and it had switches and lights, and it was ugly, and nobody could understand or use it. It was the old computer style, but I had built it because I'd always wanted a computer. But I told my father I wanted a real useful computer, a 4K computer someday of my own, and he said it cost as much as a house. I said, I'll live in an apartment. I was going to have a computer if I could ever make it affordable. And I was, thank God, I had a lot of genius to come up with ways to make it affordable. The revolution idea came from a group of people about this size of an audience. We met every 2 weeks at Stanford Linear Accelerator Center, and it was a bunch of people that believed that people were going to have their own computers finally. The costs were coming down, and it was going to change the world of communication, of education, of the geek being important. And that was, we all spoke the word revolution. Nobody in the real world, the world of sales, the world of marketing, the world of companies, the world of business, nobody believed us. The big companies said, it's just going to be a little hobby. It's just going to be a little dinky thing. It's not going to do real work. These computers are never going to be useful. And so they ignored us, but that made us feel even stronger that we were at the front of a revolution that we saw and other people didn't see. And I always wanted to be part of some kind of revolution, overturning the way life was, the way culture was. My father pointed to, for example, the washing machine, and said that before the washing machine, people would have to, wash their clothes this very hard way. I thought, my gosh, that was so hard. And I said, I want to be an engineer, because engineers build all these devices in our homes, our home appliances for the average person that make life easier. And my father said, maybe someday we'll make life so easy we only have to work 4 days a week instead of 5 days a week. And that was back when only one person in the family worked in Silicon Valley. One person worked, and we had all of our housing, clothing, food, entertainment, education. We had it all, vacations. Nowadays in Silicon Valley, it takes 2 people working long, stressful, hard jobs just to own a home. So we didn't get 4-day work weeks. We kind of got the opposite.
Definitely
and that bothered me, because the intent of making all these new, better things was to really make life easier for people, and actually less to do, but that's not how it turned out. Investing in young startups is something that's been around in Silicon Valley called venture capital. Venture capital existed before young startups. Venture capital grew up in Silicon Valley as the economics of the world were being increased by Moore's Law. In Silicon Valley, companies that were successful spun off groups of engineers and executives, and they formed a new company, and they spun off a new company, spin-offs and spin-offs, and people had made a lot of money, and they invested it back in what they knew, and the venture capital community grew over a long period of time. We didn't have young startups, people coming just out of college age or without a college degree, starting companies until Apple and Microsoft, and around this time, that era. And from then on, it was young people really would love to be in a part of a startup. When I talk to people at the university, and they say, should I go to the university or should I participate in the startup that I have a chance? I almost always say, go to the startup. You can always go back to the university. And a startup will be the most exhilarating, most fun time in your life if you're that type of person. If you're very stable and you just want things natural and predictable, forget it. But if you want to be a part of something adventurous, yeah, go for the startup. As far as companies go, look at Hewlett-Packard. Turned me down 5 times for the personal computer. Yeah, for 5 times for the personal computer. Companies should sort of think, we should spot some of our younger employees that have ideas, or maybe even outsiders have ideas, and fund a few of them, like a little bit of internal venture capital, and fund them. Give them some of the resources, some of the tools we have in our company, some of the parts we have in our company, and give them an advantage, and we might have in their employment contract some small ownership of what they do. I've always been very proud of my Polish descent and my heritage from my families. We have large communities in the United States. We have a lot of Wozniaks in the United States, which I run into now and then. It's been an important part of my life. I've always related to this community. I've come a couple times in the past to Warsaw. Once I brought my 9-year-old son, and I have a photograph of him teaching 𝗍𝗿 𝗙𝗃𝗍 how to use a Macintosh computer. The human is more important than technology. A man named Jeff Raskin brought this concept to Steve Jobs and myself, and he said, look, you can have 2 sets of parts that build 2 separate machines, computers in those days, and one of them can put in a lot of extra work to make it easy to use. Everything you've got in your life now, one of the things you like about it, you hate it when it gets hard to use. And the easiest of all now is we're able to speak to our devices, actually to speak a thought. You don't even have to remember where to go tap and click things. That's the easiest of all. So we've been making steps towards this ease of use thing. Well, now the problem is that technology has become, and so, like I was saying before, habit forming and addictive, and it's a lifestyle that you aren't going to be able to really draw back and change in the future. There's no good, those of us who grew up with a different lifestyle, we had real newspapers, we had real paper books, you know. We just have to acknowledge that we're going beyond that, but it doesn't mean the new generation is worse off. Some of the worse off things might have to do with technology starting to make decisions for itself without proper human guidance. Well, Facebook has some good aspects to it. When it started out as an idea in a dorm room, let's connect people together. That's a good idea, connect them together. Oh, but then how are we going to make money on it? We're going to have to totally understand them and surveil everyone and get all the information we can. Now, when I'm on Facebook, I really only used Facebook for 3 months in my life. I waited long decade, didn't really use it. And then I started scrolling through every time I could on my phone. Every time I had a free minutes, I'd scroll through, and I saw it becoming a habit. I saw it becoming like an addiction, you know, and everything that you're addicted to has some good benefit. You know, maybe it's drugs and I feel good, but it's like an addiction, and I don't like that. I like to avoid that because strong habits take you away from choice. Choice is freedom. Choice is the equivalent of actually having more wealth. So Facebook was not right for me. I have 5,000 Facebook friends and I don't know them. So I'm scrolling through all these people things. I'm hardly ever seeing things from people that really matter to me. And I just decided it just wasn't right for me. It doesn't mean it's not right for everyone else. I'm not saying it's a good or it's a bad. I do strongly wish that Facebook would say you could pay a certain price, get all of our benefits, and we would not pay any attention to anything you do. We would ignore everything that you post on Facebook. I wish that Facebook were competitive. I wish that that there was even some regulation, maybe in the United States, that Facebook would have to make a standard markup form, a standard form of data that you could export your entire Facebook presence and put it into a new service directly without any steps and invite all your Facebook friends. If you come over to this new service, we will instantly be friends, we'll have the same timelines, and we'll be over there, and maybe they offer advantages. That would be competition. And Facebook, I haven't seen Facebook take one step that says, oh, we'll sacrifice a little cent to give people a better life. I haven't seen one action taken. Life to me is going to be about happiness, not achievement. Happiness, how happy you are. Now, achievement might make you happy, but to me, happiness, what is happiness? You should smile a lot and frown little. So my formula is H equals S minus F, and in English, that's happiness equals smiles minus frowns. Do the things that make you smile. Tell jokes, go to comedy, go to music, enjoy things with your friends, have a good time. Avoiding frowns was one of the keys that I hit on. Don't have to argue with people. You don't have to feel bad because they're different than you. You don't have to try to convince anyone of anything. Everybody's good if they have their own reasonable way of thinking. I changed my formula, I modified it slightly after I put on a big rock concert in Southern California, sold over 1 million tickets for two 3-day festivals, long before the ones you hear about these days. And Steve Jobs commented on it that I should be doing computers and not rock shows. And I modified my formula to say happiness equals 3 F's: food, fun, and friends. Food is the necessities of life. Obviously food, you don't live without food, but it means your housing and everything. And fun is all entertainment, and friends means people.